eyes that see so deep, endless hours, no sleep.
Hello, fanpires, and welcome to Mystic Falling, a recap podcast of CW's Vampire Diaries from, let's just say, two elder millennials, it's a gentle way of putting it, who surprisingly have never watched this show before. I am Beth Elderkin.
And I'm Abbey Kindler.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 1, the very first episode of the Vampire Diaries, appropriately called Pilot. So, Abby, we have been podcasting for a very long time. We came to this from a once upon a time where we were podcasting for what, over a decade?
I think almost a decade. Yeah. 2015, 2014? Oh my gosh, it has been.
It was a decade, yes. Isn't that wild?
Oh,
so we spent a
wild.
decade recapping Once Upon a Time, which is still a beloved show. We were in the middle of season 4 when we had first started our podcast, went through the end of the series, tried to move on to something else, the CW reboot of Charmed. That burst into flames. And we decided to go back to the beginning of Once Upon a Time and do that train all over again. I'm so glad we did. But doing it for a third time, not super appealing to me. It was time for us to go to something new, something we'd never experienced.
Listen, this is the perfect moving out of Storybrooke and moving into Mystic Falls. I feel like is a very natural move for us. I don't know how this show got away from me. This was a show that I just never watched. And so having this opportunity and being able to watch it at my big age now, I'm so pumped. But I enjoyed myself so much watching this first episode. I'm so excited. This is such a great thing. And I think that you and I are going to have some fantastic, unparalleled takes on this. So just excited. I'm going to keep saying excited.
Absolutely. And before we dive into this episode, I kind of wanted to get a little bit of what's your background with vampire story lore, like the vampire craze of the 2000s. The wolf stuff that's continued to this day for some reason. What is your history with this particular fantasy genre?
I love vampires. Again, strange that I never watched this show. I was full into Twilight. I read the books. I watched the movies. All the Twilight movies just came into Netflix, by the way. So if you decide that you want to just have them on, they're there for you to enjoy. I love vampires. I love werewolves. I love everything about it. I've been into it, obviously, like before the whole Twilight saga came into play. I'm more of a werewolf gal myself, I will say. Not Omegaverse. Like, that's a different, I'll say, beast in and of itself. But, like, I love the mythology and stuff around werewolves a lot. Found families, things like that, changing, accepting yourself. But I love vampires, too. They're just so old, and they're so tired of being alive. The ennui of it all is so fantastic.
So my history with vampire stuff, I'm 50-50. I'm not like a huge vampire fan. I watched the first movie of Twilight. It's fine. I think I watched bits of the later ones because they were just so crazy, and it just got weirder as it went on. I also watched the first 2 seasons of True Blood, even though I had to cover my eyes during most of it because I have a medical condition where I will pass out if I see too much blood or violence, which is actually, I remember one time I was watching Interview with the Vampire. I literally passed out during that one.
I do remember we had a conversation about whether or not we would want to move to different shows, and you brought up True Blood. I watched the first episode and went, Beth, we can't watch this show.
No, we cannot do. Let's pick the CW version, which is clearly what this is. It's True Blood Light.
It's True Blood. To me, from this first episode, the initial jump was someone saying, I wish Twilight were more like True Blood. And this is the beast that they came up with. And I've never been happier.
Agreed. Same boat. And every week, Abby, you and I are going to be breaking down an episode of this series that I'll say this first episode is not that bananas, but I've heard this show just goes there. By the end of it, it's hardly recognizable, which is what I want out of a series.
Which, again, I'm going to try to temper my Twilight talk, but it is one of the reasons I'm obsessed with, like, the Twilight movies. I hate the first 3. The first 3 are all terrible movies. but they build you to Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2, which are parodies of themselves. It does what most movies do, where they turn into like a Pantene commercial. Everyone's hair is fantastic. No one's looked better. And it's just so far from the source material, so far from the first movie, unrecognizable as part of the series. And it's just almost comical, and it's camp, and I love it. And I think I would love to know when this show moves to camp. I'm going to say, I'm calling a shot with no knowledge of the show based whatsoever. Season 3. Season 3, we will downshift into full camp.
I'm thinking season 4. I think season 3,
Okay.
they're going to hold on. I'm feeling more like a Peter Pan vibe from season 3 of Once Upon a Time. Like they're going to maybe get a little bit darker, and then it's going to go full camp. But we'll put a pin in that. But Abby, can you give us a little brief overview of the Vampire Diaries, the series, for those who may not be familiar?
Absolutely, Beth. Vampire Diaries tells the story of Elena Gilbert, a high schooler who finds herself at the center of a love triangle between two vampire brothers, Damon and Stefan Salvatore.
Salvatore.
Salvatore. I'm about to sound Salvador. Salvatore. It ran from 2009 to 2017 with 171 episodes over 8 seasons.
That is an achievement you cannot get now, especially for a genre show like this.
Netflix would have already canceled it.
Yeah. So you know what? As bananas as it is, got to give them props. You know, this one and Supernatural are two just like behemoths of fantasy genre shows that just stood the test of time.
CW really will just, if they decide that it's worth keeping, they will hold on well past the lifespan, just hopefully to get one more breath out of it. Props.
They used to. But once
they used
that
to. I'm so
guy
sorry,
took
yes.
over that we're not going to talk about, pulled the plug on everything.
Okay.
Anyway, let's dive into the pilot, appropriately called Pilot. And apparently this episode was filmed separately from the rest of the season. I'm not sure if that was because it was partly a test pilot, or they still hadn't greenlit it all the way, or they had just changed things after the fact. But this one kind of was a standalone filming experience, which I think we're probably going to see in subsequent episodes, because some of the locations we see in this one are more public and outdoors than you would expect. And I think we're probably going to start seeing more sets being built.
Yeah, and I think that was that's kind of the way that they used to do it. Gilmore Girls did the same thing. The pilot of Gilmore Girls was shot in a completely different location on a bunch of different things, and then when they greenlit it, they moved to a set. So if you watch the initial episode, it's a bunch of things you'll never see again, characters you'll never see again, streets you'll never see again, and then they just sort of try to mimic it. So maybe that's just a CW specialty.
Well, we're going to go ahead and do a brief recap of this episode. Then we're going to talk about some of our highlights, and then we're going to go a little bit further into the lore and even beyond. So this episode aired September 10th, 2009. It is set in Mystic Falls, Virginia, a real town that's not in Virginia, and it's not called Mystic Falls. It is in Georgia. I cannot remember the name, but it is within driving distance of my house. So Abby, eventually you're going to have to come visit me so we can go. That is a requirement. 100%. It is not an option. I am putting it on the table.
Oh, we're 100% doing podcasting on the road to Mystic Falls. 1000%.
Live stream.
Live stream. We'll do a YouTube vlogging as we go, as we drive down there, and I try to find gluten-free things in the South and starve to death slowly.
So we are first introduced to our protagonist, our titular diary non-vampire one, Elena Gilbert, played by Nina Dobrev. She is returning to school after her parents had tragically died in a car, I'm guessing, accident, quotation marks, because the way that she worded it was very like, the car fell. I'm like, did it? You didn't say it was an accident. But anyway, it had fallen into the water. They died, she lived, and so she has a bit of survivor's guilt as well. And while she's at school, she's trying to keep up appearances, let everybody know she's okay, but clearly she's not. And then she meets Stefan Salvatore. Is it Stefan? Stefan Salvatore.
Stefan. Kept wanting to say Stefan. It's Stefan.
It should be Stefan Salvatore, but we'll go with Stefan Salvatore because that's what they did. He is a mysterious new student with very Edward hair, and he just keeps like popping up everywhere that she is. And for some reason, she's not weirded out by it. He does a lot of very weird things. And at no point is she like gross. which
No.
was interesting.
Listen, sometimes guys are just there and you're like, you know what? There he is. Come on in. This was the very like Edward or Vampire Bill from True Blood thing where it's like, this is a really intense dude who will not stop staring at you unblinkingly and just keeps kind of getting in your personal space. And because you find him attractive, it's fine. So that's definitely what that is. Because she's just like, you don't want to talk to me or feel sad about me for my dead parents? Amazing. Let's go inside and talk because I'm sick of everybody else I know.
And Stefan is he is attracted to Elena. In the very first words, he's like, I have to see her. And we find out that she resembles his past love, Catherine, which we see in an old-timey photograph from the 80s. And we also find out he came to the town specifically to find her. So he's like, I gotta meet her. I gotta see her. We also meet her friend Bonnie, who is played by Kat Graham. Oh, by the way, Stefan is played by Paul Wesley. And Bonnie is from her very first line. She's like, I'm not a psychic, guys.
It's weird that everyone keeps saying that I'm psychic. I'm not.
My grandma was like, Salem, witches, it's us. Not.
And I was like, Grandma, we should put you in a home. It's so super weird. Why is no one listening to me? I'm not a psychic. Someone listen. Hello? I'm not.
And to get into the acting for a moment, I felt like the actress who plays Bonnie was kind of given a bad deal because this is a lot to ask of an actress in the very first episode for her literally to come in and be denying something that you're clearly going to lead to. Like, obviously she's got magical powers of some time. Obviously she's a witch. So just to put that kind of place on an actress, I feel like kind of did her dirty because you can tell she can do better than this.
Oh, yeah. Her first line is literally, the plot line from later in the season's definitely not happening to me, guys. Not happening at all. Not me. And we like fully start exploring it in this episode, which is hysterical.
Oh, yes, because there's a party in the woods. Everyone's acting drunk very badly. No one can pull off fake drunk in this episode. And yes, Abby's got it, giving them some acting coach lessons. They need to take it from you. And she shows signs of her magical powers in just that her eyes get big and she goes, bad things. And then that's it.
I see fog, a crow, and you, and a guy, not the beer bottle of truth.
We also meet Vicky, who is a server who has apparently been sleeping with Elena's younger brother. And they kind of say like it's not in exchange for drugs, but he was getting her drugs and they were getting high and she was sleeping with him.
Yeah.
Which was weird. She was my least favorite character in this episode.
Oh, well, yeah. And that's what we're supposed to believe. It's just like, we don't like her because she's cheating on her boyfriend and being kind of a dork about it. But then it's just like, yeah, there's all this drugs and nondescript pills that are being passed out. I would love if it's just Benadryl. Like, it's...
Get a little sleepy.
That lame. I just get a little sleepy, see the Hat Man, and then I sleep with this guy who sells me the drugs, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Vicky. She also did not look like a teenager to me.
That was the reason why she was my least favorite character, was that she looked too old and too... Not just that she looked too old, but she looked too put together like an adult.
Correct.
Like, this is a grown woman. And granted, they're all grown adults. But Nina, on the other hand, I don't know how old she was at the time of the pilot, but she acts more like a teenager. Like, she has that vibe. More so. Not entirely.
So we're going to talk about this, obviously, probably every episode, because I'm not going to stop talking about the fashion. But what's funny is that because it's early 2000s in a very specific kind of fashion, it is millennial fashion, which is starting to look old.
It is.
So it's making them look older when they didn't look older before. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense.
It hurts my heart.
It does. It does. So Vicky, she is attacked in the woods by what we find out is a vampire. And we all know that from the very beginning. I just wrote in my notes, the fog.
The fog.
There's a whole thing with the fog and the crow. And I have to wonder if they continue with this or if it's just a weird pilot thing. Because the way they do it is just like, it's a little heavy-handed. Like, the fog. I can do so much with the fog.
There is one guy with a fog machine that absolutely made bank that day.
He did. He's like, guys, Hear me out. Yes, we have a crow, but what if we also had fog? Can we
He
have
bought
fog
the biggest
too?
fog. He bought the biggest fog machine, even though they just needed a little one.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, guys, I needed this $1,800 fog machine. Wait till you see. It will fill this setup in 30 seconds flat.
I've got a Halloween house party coming up. I wanted to expense it.
Exactly. See, he's a businessman.
And after she has attacked her brother Matt, who has the bluest eyes in all of creation, what are these pools of blue?
I am obsessed with brother Matt, who is always in his Letterman jacket.
Yes.
And he has blue eyes, and he's always staring.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Bonnie and Elena are texting back and forth, and he's just watching them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He's watching them at the bar. He's watching what happens after, like, he's the watcher. He's the guy.
He's the guy. He's the jealous ex. He's possessive of
Yep.
Elena. He wants her back. And he immediately suspects Stefan because he's just standing there and then leaves. But I think that Matt probably wanted a reason to suspect him because he's jealous.
For sure.
And then we introduce Damon, played by Ian Somerhalder. I'm probably saying that wrong. I do apologize. I will learn it by the end of the series or not. We shall see. First, we see him as a creepy crow stalking Elena. Then he's a creepy crow at Stefan's house. And then he's himself and the creepy crow. And then they fight. And that's it.
Sure.
And then he finds Caroline at the restaurant because she's the blonde who's jealous of, why am I not as good as the brunette who's shy? Me, the hot blonde woman.
Again, this is so the Twilight thing. She's just, everybody wants to date her. Everyone, which I'm sure isn't the case.
No.
I'm sure it's just they have similar taste in the attractive men at school.
She's like, I wear short skirts. She wears t-shirts.
T-shirts. I'm the cheer captain. She's on the bleachers.
And she's got my boyfriend.
But oh, look, there's a man at the coffee shop that won't put his straightener down. What is going on? Listen, I'm all for 2000s fashion. What is happening with this man's bangs?
I mean, his whole hair situation, it's really funny. And I don't think it's going to get better.
I've seen some photos and it's like, no, it does not.
No. And you know what? If that's his character, if his character is bad hair, okay, we can keep that.
I appreciate Damon at one point just like, you can't keep up with trends, which is such a good way to be like, this is why he looks the way that he does. He doesn't pay attention to trends or fashion. He does what he wants. He's a vampire. He does whatever. I love their dynamic though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm really interested to see how this continues because is there like a blood feud of some sort? Because that's what it kind of sounds like.
I'm not sure. I mean, we're seeing the beginnings of the love triangle forming. Clearly, both of them are interested in Elena, although Damon might just be because Stefan is. Mm-hmm. And, and then they also, there's things in the book that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, so that is the end of the episode. Stefan goes to visit Elena. They have this very nice moment where he's like asking her how she is. And she's like, everyone just keeps asking me that. And he goes, well, are you? And she goes, ask me tomorrow. And I thought that was a really good line. I've seen Nina get some flack as an actress. I actually was more impressed with her than I thought I was going to be. She established her character very quickly. Like, instantly who this person is.
Oh, and you can tell like she's going to be the main character. She's going to be tough but soft. Mm-hmm. She's going to be strong but not so strong that she can't need to be saved every once in a while. She's the perfect kind of character to also like put yourself in the shoes of, and the characters around her are just a little bit more vivacious. Like the perfect female main character of a vampire story. Yes. Like she's going to be attracted to Stefan and she's going to be fine with him just being outside of her window and then invite him into her home. Mm-hmm. I'm obsessed with this character. It's great. This is I see why this show got picked up and carried on for a very long time. This is a very strong pilot for that reason.
It is a strong pilot. So one thing we're going to be doing every week in this podcast is we will be each picking what we're going to call a standout moment. We'll probably name it at some point. It's just called Standout Moment for now because that's what it is. It can be a scene, it can be a vibe, it can be a character, just something to dive into in a little bit more detail. So my standout moment for this episode is the Damon encounter in Stefan's room, but also kind of broadening it out to just talk about Stefan's room in general, because this set is wild to me.
So you mentioned it before I started watching the episode, and because of that, I actually paid more attention to it than I think I naturally would have. So please enlighten, because I think that it might be something that other people just don't see right away, because I wouldn't have noticed it otherwise. I don't think.
So when it comes to a set for a character's room, there's a couple different ways that you can go about it. One is the very, easy, sweet, young woman room, like kind of what Elena has, light and airy, maybe a doll or two to kind of resemble their innocence and stuff, like very basic, usually with like a mom or a dad, like a parent's room. It's just a generic parent's room. But then you get the rooms for the dark characters. And bedrooms for dark characters are one of the most fascinating things to me. I remember I got to take a tour of the set for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina when it was filming season 2. Right. And I got to explore Sabrina's room and Salem's room. No, not Salem, sorry. The cousin. I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
And when you look at a room like that, everything is deliberate. It's what I call immaculate chaos. There's papers and books everywhere, but they're all old tomes. And they're all distributed haphazardly, but they're in like nice chaotic piles that were set that way and probably are glued together. Wallpaper, always pay attention to the wallpaper for a villainous or dark character in a TV show. Because it's always never wallpaper anyone would have in their room. But then all the other things, like he has like a weird skull of like an animal in there. He had like a statue at some point. He had the whole house is just this old archaic tomb, essentially.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's lost in time. And that as a set is really fascinating and it says a lot about the character. But when you look at it just as like a place, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Because no one would ever live like this.
Okay, so isn't he like in a boarding house? Like this is like a boarding school orphanage situation?
No, I don't think so. I think that that's what he's telling people. Because when he's home, the guy at the house calls him uncle.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to figure out, if that was an actual like business situation that was happening in the house. Because if that's the case, could you imagine? Okay, this is the boarding school. You walk in and it's Stefan's room and you're like, honey, go wait in the car. Never mind. We don't need our deposit back. We have to go. We have to leave immediately.
I'm guessing this is the Salvatore family home that they've had for hundreds of years. And they have not updated it at all.
Because why would you? Why would you? Like, it's the early 2000s. Like, could you imagine if they're like, no, I just redid all the rooms and it's the like Tuscan kitchen. Like there's grapes everywhere. There's the oh my God. Or it's like the full Coca-Cola kitchen. Did you ever have any, like, of your mom's friends that you would go to their house and it was just the full Coca-Cola experience?
No, but I had a cousin who had an Elvis room.
Yeah.
The things I really liked about the Damon encounter is, first we get to see the hint of the mystery around Catherine. She looks exactly like Elena. The photo is old. 1864, put a pin in that because we're going to discuss that when we're talking about the book comparisons. And the other thing I really loved was the interaction between the brothers. Like the two actors did a really good job of establishing a rapport right away.
Oh, yeah.
That said, there were a couple cringy moments. Like when Damon was being cocky and just kind of dismissive, I thought that was him at his best. When he was like, come on, just have a taste. We'll have a taste of Elena. When he started getting like that dark thing, I'm like, you don't have this yet. Give yourself some time, sweetie. You don't have the darkness yet.
We have to grow. We have to learn. He's got the bullying older brother vibe to him. I get that part. But yeah, this whole encounter, it set up a lot of the show to me. It also did tap into another vampire thing with when Stefan's face contorted. Felt very Buffy. Very Buffy coded. So I loved it. I don't know if it's supposed to be a love letter to all of the early 2000s vampire shows, but I've decided it is.
Why not? There's also
Why not?
There's also a quote I wanted to pull out when Damon is talking to Stefan. He says, quote, "I promised you an eternity of misery, so I'm just keeping my word." That it's a cheesy ass line, but it says a lot and it tells a very strong story and hints at a bigger lore.
Yeah, this is why I said I suspect like a blood feud of some sort. And if I had to guess, it involves Catherine.
Yeah.
Because we also very, very Twilight coded. Stefan doesn't drink human blood anymore. This was a crux of the episode of, "You're killing again. No, not me. I only eat squirrels and bunnies and other cute tiny animals. I don't kill humans anymore." So we've got morality with our vampireness being introduced as well as some sort of mystery with the ring.
Yes.
As well as if you need to be wearing the ring when the sun comes up, else you die.
Yes. And it's a very big gaudy ring. It is
Oh my God.
Oh.
Ugh.
Well, Abby, what was your standout moment for this episode?
Oh my God. The whole episode was a standout moment for me,
Fair.
but I will say, and I'm pulling it up, but it's just the soundtrack. Like, we keep talking about it being like a early 2000s show, and the soundtrack just ages like fine wine. All of the songs, One Republic, Noted Astronaut, Katy Perry, MGMT, Running Up That Hill cover. Take that, Stranger Things.
When that cover came on, I lost my mind. Because it was also when Stefan was in his room.
Oh my,
I was like,
obsessed.
I was like, oh, this is a time period. This is a period piece.
That's exactly what this is. This will be studied.
Yes.
What was 2009 like? Here, it's this.
Watch Vampire
It's
Diaries.
this. And then they've also got like just several. It was just such a very dated playlist, and it just made me feel so nostalgic every time a random background song came on. My standout moments are just the absolute drama that is Elena. Every time she wrote in her diary, I just kept thinking, now I was thinking Fall Out Boy, but they also invoked Pete Wentz's name very early in this episode and then made a joke about TRL and Carson Daly. Elena's diary was, if you needed to tell me she was 17, that diary told me she was 17. Like, "Dear diary, today the sun came out, but I didn't feel the warmth on my skin. It's all darkness all the time. But one day hope will arise." Like, it was that kind of like almost poetry of a teenager who is sad. Now, she has real reason to be sad, so I'm not going to say that she shouldn't. But it is all very drama.
It is.
It's very dramatic.
Yes. And this is actually a perfect segue to get into some book comparisons. So,
yes,
the other thing we're going to be doing in this podcast is we're going to be giving you some behind the scenes deeper dives. I'm going to be looking at comparisons to the novels, and Abby is going to be looking at behind the scenes content from the DVD that I sent her. She has the whole box set.
Oh my God. My God, you guys.
She was telling me about the adventure that was starting this DVD, and I felt for her so hard.
I'm holding them in my hand going, this is amazing. I opened it up. First of all, I have fake nails on, and I realized I had no idea how to get the CDs out or the DVDs out of the case. I had to go find my husband. I was like, get these out of here. I'm going to break these. But the finding a DVD player, by the way, has made me realize also how archaic that is. Because I was like, what do you mean I can't stream it? Well, I got to go find something to put this in, and then functioning it made me feel like I was back in 2009. This is the eject button. This is the going to the title screen, oh God. But I will say, Beth, I want everyone to know, for all the listeners to know, that there was an ad that was unskippable at the beginning of my DVD that played for 2 minutes to let me know about the gloriousness of Blu-ray and DVDs. And just so everyone knows and can get excited and hype with me, Happy Feet is coming to Blu-ray soon.
No way!
So everyone be so pumped.
Yes!
It's
mark happening!
Your calendars. Mark your calendars for soon.
So I've read through the entire first book, which I don't know how far that takes us in the series. Basically, I'm going to wait to read the next book until we hit the point where I'm like, okay, now we're hitting territory that is probably being explored in the future. So the two things that I will be talking about in this one are Elena as a character and the backstory time period, because those are the two biggest ones that I feel like are important right now. Now, in the show, Elena is very Bella coded.
Mm-hmm.
That is not Elena in the book.
Interesting.
For context, the first book was published in 1991. And Elena is a blonde, popular girl who knows what she wants and will go and get it. And she is take no prisoners, and her whole thing is she sees Stefan, she wants Stefan, she will have Stefan. She is basically Caroline.
So she's Suki.
She is Suki, yes.
Yeah, because True Blood's original book, same way. A southern, outgoing woman who's just like, I want to date this vampire, and I shall.
Mm-hmm.
I shall.
And speaking of southern, that's the other big difference. And I do feel like it actually is because of True Blood, and I'll explain that in a moment. So in the show, clearly the backstory is going to take us to antebellum South. Civil War, we're in Virginia. For some reason, vampires and Confederacy is just a thing.
I don't understand it.
And it wasn't a thing in the book. In the book, they were in Renaissance era Italy. And that's when Catherine is alive, too. When they first meet Catherine is in Renaissance Italy. Now, I don't know what happens after that, because that's the only experience I see with her in the book. But it shows that, one, the brothers are a couple hundred years older in the books than they are in the show. But also, they had the choice to do Renaissance Italy, and they chose slavery, United States era.
Okay.
And I
Sure.
honest to God think it's because True Blood debuted in 2008, and it was a big hit. And CW was like, we need Twilight and True Blood. So how do we put them together? Well, let's put them in the South.
Let's do True Blood and Twilight for the median age of the audiences of both of the shows. So it needs to be someone that is like 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. So not so bloody and not so anything. And yeah, we also cannot afford Renaissance Italy.
No, we can't.
We can't afford the backwoods of Louisiana. Let's go.
That is true. There is one more little book note I do want to make, because I don't know if this is going to come up again, because the bird thing doesn't happen often in the book. So I'm not guessing it's going to happen often in the show. In the book, the bird is described as horny. Like,
I'm
the
sorry.
way...
Hold on, Beth. I'm sorry. The connection I might have cut. Did you say that bird is described as horny?
Yes.
Horny.
Horny, yes.
Horny.
So basically, when Elena sees this bird in the beginning of the first book, she's basically saying that it's looking at her with bedroom eyes. That it is looking at her like it finds her attractive. Like, she sees, like, seduction in the eye, because the bird is Damon. We understand why. But it's a crow. Crows have just full black eyes, cannot express emotions. And also, why are you looking at a bird and being like, that bird wants me?
Okay, so first of all, that's everything I need to know about Book Elena. If you want to say that she feels full main character energy, looking at a bird going, that bird wants me, is the level of confidence I want in my looks. Like, I'm walking down the hall and be like, hey, everybody's in love with me, including that bird, that guy, that other bird. No, not me. I think birds were judging me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that energy. But also, if I looked at a bird and felt anything like that, I'd return to my home. I'd go home.
Yeah.
That's a wild feeling. What an interesting way to describe looking at a bird.
Yes. All right. And finally, we're going to travel to Abby's Fashion Corner.
Ooh.
Abby's Fashion Corner. I'm going to have to make a little jingle for it, but I don't have it yet. So sorry, not sorry. Abby is going to take us on a journey of our 2000s fashion, our period costumes, as you will. And Abby, what fashion inspired you this week?
The fashion that inspired me this week were crop top jean jackets with layered spaghetti straps and huge hoops.
Oh, yeah.
Elena rocks that look at one point, and I thought that was the vibe I was trying to get to. That's the look. It's that wet seal. If that's here's me dating myself. I don't think wet seals exist anymore. You get the wet seal top that's got a little bit of lace. There's like a sweetheart neckline. It's a spaghetti strap, and you wore another spaghetti strap underneath it because you couldn't wear a bra with it because it didn't really work. And it always had a whole bunch of padding in it. So, oh God, our boobs looked amazing in 2009. But like a jean jacket that doesn't go quite all the way down, stops at about your bra line, and then your hair is down and you're wearing hoops.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that doesn't exist anymore is because the same reason that I had a fight with my headphones earlier. You get tangled. There's like one slight breeze and suddenly you and your hoop earrings have become one and the same.
Mm.
But that was the look, man. Long, gently curled hair, jean jacket, multiple spaghetti straps, and the big old hoops. God,
So many
That's the look,
layered
man.
tank tops,
so many layered tank tops.
which
I don't know why.
we all did it.
But also like the layered tank top, so it's like the top one is short, but then the next one's a little longer. So
Mhm.
you had to like pull them out in like a rainbow pattern down over your low cut jeans. Because holy cow, the low cut jeans in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I felt nervous about my own stomach for a couple times. Like, ooh, no, like suck it in.
Where's my Spanx?
Because the low cut jeans with all the rhinestones, this encapsulation of the era, the period pieces unmatched. That's fashion corner. I will send you a picture of the specific outfit I'm looking for if you want to put it in like show notes or something for someone to look at. I'll probably put it on the Facebook group, but that is the look.
Absolutely.
That is the it girl look.
Speaking of Facebook group, we have a new Instagram account. We've got a new Facebook page. We are in the process of starting a new Facebook group. I had put a poll out asking if folks wanted to transition Once Upon a Timing group into a Mystic Falling group, or if they wanted to keep it. They wanted to keep it, and I love that. So be on the lookout. Make sure you follow and subscribe. We're going to be adding links to all of our different social channels. Also be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you want to see the video, you can go to YouTube. And guess what? We're not doing Patreon right now. We're starting things fresh. So it's not behind a paywall. Everybody can access our wonderful faces. So you're welcome.
Yay,
I'm looking into my
everyone can
camera.
access our faces.
Everyone can access our faces.
Ugh.
So we want to hear from you guys. Be sure to let us know what your favorite moments from the show are. Be sure to let us know your fashion corner moment of this episode. You'll be joining us next week for episode 2, The Night of the Comet, where Elena meets Damon and Stefan tries to cover his tracks. So, Abby, any closing thoughts before we wrap up this very first episode of Mystic Falling?
I'm very excited for this ride, guys. I'm excited to see how this show changes and evolves because obviously when Beth and I started Once Upon a Timing 10 years ago, it was a completely different format with completely different jokes. And then all of a sudden it turned into a whole bunch of insider jokes that carried for us for years and years to come. And I cannot wait to see what this show and this podcast and our lovely fans help us build to.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
Whether you are joining us from Once Upon a Timing, welcome back. We have missed you, and we're so excited to be with you again. If you're joining us for the first time, whether you are a fan of Vampire Diaries, a love to hate it fan of Vampire Diaries, or you are also enjoying it for the first time, welcome. We are so happy to have you. We're going to be back next week with The Night of the Comet. Until then, watch the dark, watch the light, and keep your ring on, Abby. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Moonlight.